Welcome back to We Be Kids again. In a previous story that I told called The Rich Fool, it ended with the line, "Forget about getting and instead learn to give." But some people are often perplexed with the idea of giving. What if we don't have a lot of material things that we can share? This story is called The Warm Fuzzies, and it's written by Wayne Dossick, found in a book called The Golden Rules. And it's a story about how we can give from our hearts. So if you jump into a little rowing boat and you row and row and row and head north, follow the stars and let the current take you, it will wash you up on the shores of a beautiful island. An island that is filled with thick, lush, green vegetation. It is ringed by golden sands and beautiful blue sea. And on this island there are lots and lots of creatures living there, but there are people as well. But not people like you and me. The people that live on this island are very, very small. There are fairies, and there are elves, and there are gnomes, and there are tree elves. But there are also a little kingdom of small people that live in the middle of the island, and they keep all the island in good spirits. Now these little people, they carry around little bags with them, just like this one. Each person has a bag, and inside the bag, when they open it, it is filled with warm fuzzies. Now you may or may not have heard of warm fuzzies. If you lived on the island, you most definitely would have. But let me tell you a little bit about warm fuzzies. You see, when people carry them around, they're always looking for others to give them to. And if you receive a warm fuzzy from somebody else, that means that they wish you well and that you are loved. Also, when you give a warm fuzzy, it makes the giver feel really cheery as well. So the little people who lived on this island, they would hurry around every day and they would hand out warm fuzzies to each other to let them know that they are cared for and that they are loved. And it was a wonderful place to live. Everybody was very, very happy and joyful and loved. Now, another important thing about warm fuzzies as well is that whenever people would give them away, magically, another one would reappear in the bag. Meaning that the warm fuzzies were always in the bag. It was always full. Now, as well as the little people that lived on the island, just outside of their kingdom was a big, deep, dark, wet cave. And in that cave lived a troll. Now, that troll wasn't very happy. He didn't really like living on his own out in the cave. But he also thought that warm fuzzies were silly. He thought they were a load of nonsense. He would say, "Silly warm fuzzies. I don't need warm fuzzies in my cave." But one day he was wandering around and he was on the edge of the kingdom, and one of the small people saw him. And he ran over and said, "Hey, little troll, we don't see you very much around here. Let me give you a warm fuzzy and know that you're cared for and you are loved." The troll thought, "Silly warm fuzzies. I don't need those warm fuzzies." But he didn't say that to the little person. Instead, he reached down and he put his arm around the little person, and like a friend, he began to whisper in his ear. And the troll said, "You know, those warm fuzzies that you have?" The little person said, "Yes, yes, yes. We love warm fuzzies. We love them." "Well," said the troll, "if you keep giving them away, you're going to run out." Now, the little person looked at the troll with worry in his eyes. "Run out? What do you mean, run out?" "Yeah. There'll be no warm fuzzies for you. There'll be no warm fuzzies for everybody. Don't just keep giving them away. Keep them for yourself." With this, the little person ran off and the troll went off and on his own way too. Now, the little person was really, really worried about this. Can you imagine a kingdom with no warm fuzzies? So he ran back to the kingdom and he started to tell everybody. He said, did you know that if you keep giving your warm fuzzies away, they will run out? And the word spread. And after a while, the way that people thought about warm fuzzies changed. You see, everyone was afraid that their warm fuzzies would run out, so they kept them safe to themselves. They didn't want to give them away. They would often go around and instead of handing them, they would hold them under their arm. Now, occasionally they would give them away, but only on very, 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 very special occasions, like birthdays, for example. And all the other time, they would be kept there under their arm. And after a while, they started getting heavy under their arm. So they started to wear them over their shoulders. And the little people would go around with them. But as people held on to their warm fuzzies, the kingdom started to change. There wasn't as much joy and as much happiness, and people didn't feel cared for and loved. And the weight of the warm fuzzies started to weigh the little people down. Oh, not only did they feel sad and unloved, but they also began to feel sick too. Now, word of this got to the troll. And the troll was a little bit upset. You see, he just wanted to see what would happen if he changed the opinion on warm fuzzies. He didn't want them to get ill. So he thought what he could do to help. And in his cave, he had a huge store of something called cold prickles. Now, nobody had wanted cold prickles in the past, but the troll had stored them all up. He thought, this is something that I can give. So he went to the kingdom and he carried a big truckload of cold prickles, and he said to the little people, well, I know you're looking after your warm fuzzies, but here are a load of cold prickles. Grab them and take them and hand them out to each other, said the troll. So the little people started to take the cold prickles and they started to hand them to each other. But there was something very, very different between cold prickles and warm fuzzies. You see, when people received a warm fuzzy, they would say, wow, and their heart would beam. But when they handed cold prickles, people just looked at them and said, ugh, and their heart shrank. And this went on for a while, people handing out cold prickles to each other. But after a long, long time of the kingdom being in sadness, one of the wise elders called a gathering of all the little people, and he brought them round in a big circle, and he began to explain. He said, you know, this kingdom hasn't always been like this. There was a time when people used to hand out their warm fuzzies for free, without any thought about holding on to them. There were no cold prickles. People were happy and joyful and loved. Wouldn't it be great to get back to a time like that? And everybody agreed. Yes, they said it would be great. And then somebody stood up and said, but we can't give our warm fuzzies away. If we give them away, there will be none left. And the elder said, but holding them in your bags isn't helping anybody. The warm fuzzies are supposed to be shared. They're supposed to bring joy. Sat in your bags, they're not doing any good for anyone. Let's share our warm fuzzies. And all the little people said, yay, let's share our warm fuzzies. And off they went. And one by one they opened their bags and reached in, and they began to share warm fuzzies around with each other. And with every warm fuzzy that was shared, a sense of love and care spread around the kingdom. And the troll was forgotten about. He was left out there with his cold prickles. But over time, love returned to the kingdom, and warm fuzzies were once again abundant. So I hope you enjoyed that story. It is a story of warm fuzzies, and it's a story of letting people know that they are cared for and that they are loved. Now, there are lots of ways that we can give warm fuzzies, but if you'd like to make some little warm fuzzies like this, look out for it on our nature, arts and crafts section. We do a little bit of a demo how we can make warm fuzzies. So let's together make warm fuzzies and pass them around the world and bring joy and love to others. Thanks for stopping by at Weeby Kids. We'll see you again next time. Bye.